understanding the philosophy of life. In the vast journey of life, each of us is seeking meaning. This quest often leads us through paths of joy, sorrow, success, and failure, and amidst it all, we yearn for a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world. Throughout history, many philosophies have risen to illuminate the human experience, offering insights into how we might live well. Among them, 3 stand as profound guides: Taoism, Sufism, and Stoicism. These philosophies do not seek to dictate or confine, but to open the doors of perception, inviting us to see life as it truly is. Taoism teaches us to flow effortlessly with the rhythm of the universe, to embrace the natural order without resistance. It shows us that life is not something to be conquered, but to be harmonized with. Sufism, on the other hand, speaks of love, love that transcends boundaries, a love that unites the seeker with the divine. It reminds us that the heart is a bridge, connecting the physical to the spiritual, the human to the divine. And then there is Stoicism, a philosophy of strength and clarity. It teaches that while the world around us may be chaotic, our inner world can remain unshaken. By mastering our thoughts and emotions, we gain the freedom to live with integrity and purpose, no matter the circumstances. Each of these traditions offers something timeless, something essential. Taoism whispers to us about harmony and surrender. Sufism sings of love and unity. Stoicism speaks of resilience and control. Together, they form a trinity of wisdom, guiding us in our relationships with ourselves, with others, and with life itself. The question is not which path is superior, but rather how each can illuminate a part of the whole. As we journey through this exploration, I invite you to listen deeply to the words, yes, but also to your own heart. For the answers you seek have always been within you, waiting to be revealed through understanding and practice. Shall we begin? Oh, and don't forget to click the like and subscribe button to continue this journey together. Taoism, a life flowing with nature. Taoism invites us to live in harmony with nature and the rhythm of life itself. At its heart, Taoism teaches us that life is not something to be controlled, but something to be embraced as it is. The concept of Tao, the way, reminds us that there's a natural flow to existence, a pattern that unfolds without force or resistance. In a world that often pressures us to control, manipulate, and achieve, Taoism whispers a different message: surrender to the flow. Taoism asks us to trust that life has its own intelligence and direction. When we align ourselves with the Tao, we stop fighting against the currents of life, and instead, we learn to flow with them. This does not mean that life will always be easy or without challenges, but it does mean that when we stop struggling against life, when we accept the impermanence of all things, we find peace. Taoism teaches us to welcome simplicity, to find joy in the small moments, and to understand that change is the only constant. Through Taoism, we realize that we do not need to force things to happen. When we surrender to the natural flow of life, we begin to experience a deep sense of peace and harmony within ourselves. This acceptance, this trust in the unfolding of life, brings wisdom. It teaches us that even in moments of uncertainty or discomfort, there is a greater plan at work. The Tao is not a destination, but a journey of becoming. It is a path of ease, where we live not with resistance, but with understanding. To follow the Tao is to embrace the flow of the universe and discover peace in the simplicity of being. So I invite you to take a moment and ask yourself, are you flowing with life, or are you resisting it? And as we continue, remember, this journey of life is meant to be experienced, not controlled. Sufism, unconditional love and the spiritual quest. Sufism at its core is a path of love, a love that knows no limits, no conditions. It teaches that the foundation of our existence is the divine love that connects all things. In Sufism, we are reminded that love is the very essence of creation, and that our ultimate quest is to reunite with this boundless love. This love is not bound by the limitations of time, space, or material forms. It is the love that goes beyond the surface, beyond the ego, and reaches into the deepest parts of our hearts. In Sufism, we are encouraged to love without expectation, without needing anything in return. It is a love that is pure, selfless, and unconditional. When we begin to love in this way, we also learn to let go of negative emotions that bind us. Sufism teaches us to replace hatred with compassion, anger with understanding, In doing so, we not only heal ourselves, but also bring ourselves closer to the divine. For hatred, like a veil, distances us from the true nature of love. To remove it is to clear the way for a deeper connection to God and to others. In the world of Sufism, everything becomes an expression of divine love. Every act of kindness, every moment of patience, and every prayer is a step toward the divine. Sufis believe that through love, we can transcend the limitations of the material world and experience the eternal presence of God. As we seek love in its purest form, we understand that this journey is not just about loving others. It is about recognizing the divine presence within ourselves. Our love for others reflects the love that God has for us, and in embracing this love, we enrich our own souls. Through Sufism, we come to understand that life itself is an act of love, a journey that brings us closer to the divine, to our true selves, and to each other. The key to this journey is love, unconditional and all-encompassing. To love unconditionally is to open the heart, and in that opening, we are blessed with spiritual growth and connection. Stoicism, control over thoughts and emotions. Stoicism teaches us a fundamental truth. We cannot control the world around us, but we have full control over how we respond to it. Challenges and obstacles will always arise, but it is not these external events that define us. It is our reactions to them that shape our lives. The Stoics believe that the only things within our control are our thoughts, actions, and attitudes. Everything else, all circumstances, are beyond our control. The key is to focus on what we can govern, our own minds, and how we choose to act. In moments of adversity, we do not give in to anger or frustration, but instead cultivate inner strength, wisdom, and clarity to guide our responses. Stoicism teaches us to distinguish between what we can change and what we cannot. We cannot control the actions of others or the outcomes of many situations, but we can control our mindset and approach. By focusing on developing a virtuous character, by doing what is right regardless of external results, we achieve peace. In relationships, Stoicism encourages us to stay centered, not allowing conflicts or misunderstandings to disturb our peace. In love, it teaches us that true affection is not built on emotional dependency or expectation, but on mutual respect and understanding. When it comes to career and wealth, Stoicism advises that we do not base our happiness on material possessions or the opinions of others. Instead, we focus on doing our best, carrying out our duties with excellence, and maintaining our integrity. For the Stoic, success is about the process, not the outcome. Ultimately, Stoicism reminds us that peace comes from within. It is not the world that needs to change for us to find contentment, but our attitude toward it. By mastering our thoughts and emotions, we can live a life of purpose and clarity, no matter the circumstances. Inner self, the Taoist approach. In Taoism, the inner self is understood as an integral part of the natural flow of life. It teaches us that true peace comes not from controlling or forcing ourselves into rigid structures, but from aligning with the natural order of the universe, the Tao. When we accept ourselves as we are, without judgment or resistance, we can flow with life rather than struggle against it. The Taoist philosophy encourages us to embrace our authentic nature, recognizing that just as rivers flow effortlessly and trees grow naturally, our true self is in harmony with the rhythm of the universe. When we align with this flow, we discover a deep inner peace that transcends external circumstances. Rather than striving for perfection or chasing external validation, Taoism urges us to be at ease with who we are in each moment. The Tao teaches us that the more we resist, the more we disrupt our inner peace. But when we let go of control and surrender to the flow of life, we are able to experience a profound stillness within. This connection to the inner self through Taoism is not about changing who we are, but about allowing ourselves to be who we truly are. In this acceptance, we find harmony, serenity, and a deeper connection to the world around us. It is in this simplicity, in this flow, that we discover the true essence of our being. Inner self from the Sufi perspective. In Sufism, the inner self is seen as the sacred space where divine love resides. It is believed that the heart, when purified from negativity, ego, and hatred, becomes a vessel for this boundless, unconditional love. This love is the essence of the self, and it connects us to the divine, guiding us toward spiritual enlightenment and unity with God. To uncover the true nature of the inner self, Sufism teaches us to let go of the ego, which clouds our hearts and distorts our perception. Ego-driven desires, attachment to worldly things, and negative emotions like hatred create a barrier between us and the divine. The heart, when freed from these impurities, becomes an open channel for God's love, which brings peace, clarity, and understanding. Through practices such as meditation, prayer, and self-reflection, Sufism encourages us to purify the heart and transcend the limitations of the ego. It is in this state of purity that we can experience the deeper dimensions of our being, an inner connection to the divine that transcends the material world. In Sufi teachings, love is not just an emotion, but a spiritual state that transcends all boundaries. By nurturing love in its purest form within the heart, we cultivate a deeper connection to God, to ourselves, and to others. This connection brings a profound sense of inner peace and unity, reminding us that the ultimate purpose of life is to experience and share the divine love that exists within all of us. The Stoic about inner self. In Stoicism, the inner self is viewed as a fortress of virtue, where the true strength of a person resides. The Stoics teach that we are not defined by external circumstances, but by the way we choose to respond to them. This response comes from within, from the clarity and discipline of the mind. The Stoic path emphasizes the importance of mastering our thoughts and emotions, recognizing that they are within our control. By practicing self-control and focusing on reason, we create a strong, resilient inner self that is not swayed by external events. Stoicism encourages us to guard our hearts and minds against negative emotions, such as anger, fear, or envy, which can disrupt our peace and cloud our judgment. When we cultivate virtues like wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, we strengthen our inner self and build a foundation of inner stability. No matter what life throws our way, the Stoic remains unwavering, anchored in the understanding that we cannot control the world, but we can control how we engage with it. This inner strength allows us to maintain peace, even in the face of adversity. It is through this disciplined approach to our inner world that we become truly free, unaffected by the whims of fate or the actions of others. The Stoic view of the inner self is one of inner fortitude, where our character and virtue are the only true things within our power, and they are the keys to lasting peace and contentment. Relationships in Taoism. Love is not seen as something to be pursued forcefully or tightly held onto. Instead, it is viewed as a natural force that flows freely, much like the currents of a river. Taoism encourages us to approach love with the same ease and acceptance that nature exhibits. Just as a tree grows in its own time and a river flows without effort, love too must unfold naturally, without being rushed or manipulated. Taoism teaches that love is not a possession to be controlled, but a force to be nurtured through patience, acceptance, and respect for the natural course of things. One of the core aspects of Taoist love is the concept of wu wei, which translates to non-action or effortless action. This idea doesn't mean doing nothing, but rather it suggests that we should act in a way that is aligned with the natural flow of life. In relationships, this means allowing love to develop without forcing it. Just as a flower blossoms in its own time, love in a relationship should be allowed to unfold naturally, without imposing expectations or timelines. When we force or rush love, we disrupt its natural flow, much like trying to control a river's current. Taoism teaches us to allow space for love to grow, trust its natural progression, and let it evolve according to its own rhythm. In romantic relationships, Taoism advises us to embrace the inherent changes and fluctuations that occur naturally. Just as the seasons change, love may go through different phases, moments of intense passion, calm contentment, and even periods of challenge or tension. Taoism encourages us to accept these transitions and understand that they are part of the natural ebb and flow of relationships. By embracing change, we can navigate the ups and downs of love with grace, without feeling the need to cling to any one phase. Conflict in a relationship, Taoism suggests, is an inevitable part of life, just as obstacles naturally arise in the path of a river. However, Taoism offers a unique approach to conflict resolution. Seek balance, not victory. In the heat of an argument, it's easy to fall into the trap of wanting to be right or to win the discussion. This desire to dominate can often lead to further conflict, misunderstanding, or resentment. Taoism teaches us that the true goal is not to win or be victorious in a disagreement, but to restore harmony. This doesn't mean suppressing one's feelings or conceding unfairly, but rather finding a way to resolve the issue with mutual respect and understanding. The Taoist approach to conflict encourages flexibility and adaptability. Like a river that flows around rocks or bends in its path, love requires a flexible mindset when confronted with obstacles. Instead of being rigid in one's stance, Taoism advises us to remain open, listening with patience and empathy to the other person's perspective. Through understanding and compromise, we can restore equilibrium in the relationship. The aim is not to conquer, but to harmonize, to create a space where both individuals feel heard, respected, and understood. At its core, Taoist love is about balance. It's not about clinging to one's own desires or controlling the other person, but about creating an environment where both partners can coexist in harmony. By remaining open, allowing space for growth, and approaching challenges with a flexible mindset, love can thrive naturally. In this sense, Taoism teaches us that the most beautiful love is one that is allowed to grow freely, without force, and one that flows harmoniously with the rhythms of life. Relationships, Sufism and unconditional love, deep dive. In Sufism, romantic relationships are viewed as sacred opportunities to experience the divine love that transcends earthly desires and attachments. Sufi teachings emphasize that true love goes beyond physical attraction or fleeting emotions. It is a deep, spiritual connection that resonates with the soul. The love that Sufism speaks of is unconditional, meaning it is given freely and without expectation. It is a reflection of the divine, mirroring the pure, boundless love that the divine offers to all creation. For Sufis, love is not something to be possessed or controlled, but rather something to be given selflessly. In a relationship, love should flow without attachment to outcomes or material desires. Sufism teaches that true love is not contingent on receiving anything in return. It is a love that transcends ego and selfishness, a love that is given purely, without the need for recognition or reward. In a romantic partnership, this means offering love unconditionally, free from expectations, and being devoted to the well-being of the other person, as well as to the divine presence that resides in the relationship. The core of Sufi love is selflessness. To love unconditionally is to give without seeking anything in return, to serve without expecting service in return, and to forgive without holding on to resentment. This selflessness allows the heart to remain pure, open, and free from the limitations of the ego. Sufism encourages us to see beyond the surface-level interactions and to recognize the divine spark within our partner, understanding that love is a way to connect with the deeper essence of the universe. In relationships, Sufism calls us to transcend the small, ego-driven desires and to recognize love as a sacred practice. Every act of love, whether it is a touch, a kind word, or a shared silence, becomes an act of worship. Sufism encourages us to see the divine presence in every expression of affection. This means that when we love, we are not simply loving another person, but we are loving the divine through them. The relationship itself becomes a sacred bond, a pathway to spiritual growth. When conflict arises in relationships, Sufism offers guidance on how to approach it with grace and humility. The first step is to remove the veil of ego, which is often the source of conflict. Ego leads to defensiveness, pride, and misunderstandings. Sufism teaches that by letting go of our ego, we can approach conflicts with an open heart, ready to seek forgiveness, reconciliation, and mutual understanding. True love, in Sufi terms, does not hold grudges or harbor resentment. Instead, it seeks healing and harmony. The teachings of Sufism also emphasize the importance of compassion. When faced with disagreements or challenges in a relationship, Sufism encourages us to respond with empathy, patience, and tenderness. The goal is not to win an argument or prove a point, but to nurture love and understanding. By seeing the relationship as a reflection of divine love, we are reminded that the ultimate purpose of love is not to seek personal gain, but to grow spiritually and connect with the divine. Sufism teaches that love is eternal and unchanging. It transcends the limits of time, space, and human understanding. Through love, we approach the divine and gain deeper insight into the nature of existence. Romantic relationships, in the Sufi view, are not merely about companionship or physical connection. They are opportunities to experience the highest form of spiritual truth. Through love, we move closer to the divine, and our relationships become a reflection of this divine connection. Ultimately, Sufism teaches that love is not bound by human limitations. It is boundless, infinite, and the key to spiritual fulfillment. As we learn to love unconditionally, we unlock deeper layers of our own being and become more aligned with the divine essence that permeates all of creation. Stoicism and virtue in love relationships. In Stoicism, the foundation of a strong and enduring romantic relationship is rooted in virtue, not in the transient emotions that often characterize passion or desire. Stoic philosophy emphasizes that love is not about chasing fleeting feelings, but about cultivating qualities like wisdom, self-control, integrity, and respect. True love, in Stoic terms, is a mutual partnership where both individuals strive to embody virtue, supporting each other in their personal growth. At the heart of a Stoic approach to love is the recognition that we cannot control external circumstances or the actions of others. This includes the behaviors and emotions of our partners. However, Stoicism teaches that while we may not have control over these external factors, we always have control over our own actions, thoughts, and responses. This empowerment allows us to navigate relationships with a clear mind and an open heart, focusing on what is within our power to influence, our own behavior and attitudes. In a romantic relationship, this means that when disagreements or conflicts arise, the Stoic response is to stay calm, rational, and respectful. Instead of letting emotions drive impulsive actions or hurtful words, Stoicism encourages us to approach these challenges with wisdom and a focus on resolution. The goal is not to win the argument, but to engage in meaningful dialogue that leads to mutual understanding and respect. By embracing this rational approach, Stoics maintain emotional stability and preserve the integrity of the relationship. The Stoic approach to love also stresses the importance of letting go of attachment to external outcomes. This includes expectations that our partner will behave a certain way or that the relationship will fulfill specific desires. Such attachments often lead to disappointment, frustration, and suffering. Stoicism teaches that true love is not possessive or dependent. It is about mutual respect, independence, and personal growth. When both partners in a relationship focus on cultivating their own virtues, they create a foundation of understanding, support, and genuine care for each other. In the context of love, Stoicism teaches us that true happiness and fulfillment come from within, not from external validation or material desires. This understanding frees us from the cycle of dependency and allows us to appreciate love as something transcendent, rooted not in what we can gain from the relationship, but in the shared journey of growing together in virtue. As both partners navigate life's challenges, they do so with wisdom and integrity, recognizing that love is a shared commitment to mutual growth and respect. Ultimately, Stoicism offers a framework for cultivating lasting, virtuous love, one that is not easily swayed by fleeting emotions or external circumstances. Instead, it teaches us that the key to a strong relationship lies in our ability to maintain control over our own thoughts, actions, and reactions. By focusing on what we can control, letting go of unhealthy attachments, and embracing a path of virtue, Stoicism helps us build a love that is deep, resilient, and enduring. Career and finance from the Taoist perspective. Taoism teaches us to approach our careers and finances with a deep sense of harmony, following the natural flow of life. Rather than obsessing over results or chasing external markers of success, Taoism encourages us to embrace the process and trust that everything will unfold as it should. The Taoist perspective on work is rooted in the idea of aligning our actions with the Tao, the natural order of the universe. When we are in tune with this flow, we find ourselves working with ease, creativity, and purpose. Taoists emphasize the importance of living authentically and in alignment with our true nature. When we engage in work that reflects our innermost values and passions, we are more likely to experience fulfillment, regardless of the external rewards. Taoism also teaches us to avoid excessive striving or forceful effort. The Taoist ideal is to go with the flow, to act with spontaneity and without resistance. This means not forcing things to happen, but allowing them to unfold naturally. In the context of a career, this approach encourages us to be adaptable, open to opportunities, and responsive to the changing rhythms of life. By letting go of the need to control every outcome, we allow ourselves to move through life with ease and grace. In terms of finances, Taoism advises us not to become overly attached to wealth or material gain. Taoism teaches that true abundance comes from within, from living in alignment with the Tao. When we let go of greed or the fear of not having enough, we cultivate a sense of contentment and trust in the flow of life. Taoism reminds us that wealth, like all things, is temporary, and it is the inner richness of our spirit that truly matters. Ultimately, Taoism encourages us to approach our careers and finances with a sense of balance and mindfulness. By aligning with the natural flow of life, we can find joy in the process and peace in knowing that everything is unfolding as it should. The Sufi perspective about career and finance. Sufism teaches us that the true purpose of work is not to accumulate wealth or status, but to serve others with sincerity and devotion. When we approach our careers and finances with a pure heart, focusing on the well-being of others, we align ourselves with divine principles. For Sufis, the ultimate goal is to contribute to the greater good, and in doing so, we experience a sense of spiritual fulfillment. In the Sufi perspective, material wealth is seen as a tool, not the end goal. Wealth and financial success are transient. What matters is how we use those resources. A Sufi approach to work is guided by the principle of niyya, intention. We must work with the intention of helping others, of fulfilling a divine purpose, rather than for the selfish pursuit of money or recognition. By maintaining a pure and humble intention, we transform our work into a form of worship, where every action is done with love, care, and attention to the needs of others. Whether we are working in service, the arts, or any other profession, our focus should be on making a positive impact on the world around us. The Sufi path encourages us to be mindful of how we interact with others, ensuring that our actions promote harmony and goodwill. In terms of finances, Sufi teachings remind us that money is a means of exchange, not a source of happiness or fulfillment. A Sufi sees financial success not as something to be hoarded or flaunted, but as something to be used for the benefit of others. By sharing our resources and focusing on the collective well-being, we elevate our spiritual practice and experience the abundance that comes from giving. Ultimately, the Sufi approach to career and finance teaches us to focus on the impact of our work rather than the external rewards. By working with a pure heart, guided by compassion and a commitment to service, we fulfill our divine purpose. In this way, the pursuit of success and wealth becomes a spiritual practice, a means of growing closer to the divine and contributing to the well-being of humanity. The Stoic perspective. The Stoic approach to work is rooted in virtue, which means acting with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. For a Stoic, success is not defined by external achievements or financial gain, but by living according to these virtues. Whether we succeed or fail in a given endeavor, what truly matters is how we conduct ourselves in the process. How we show up, how we strive, and how we maintain our moral integrity. In the realm of finances, it teaches us to approach money with a sense of detachment, recognizing that while it is a necessary tool for survival, it should not become the center of our lives. By focusing on what we can control, our own thoughts and actions, we learn to live with contentment and gratitude, regardless of our financial circumstances. Stoicism also teaches us to accept the outcomes of our efforts with equanimity. If we achieve financial success, we accept it with humility and gratitude. If we face setbacks or failures, we accept them with resilience and without complaint. This mindset frees us from the constant worry and stress about results, allowing us to focus on the present moment and the process itself. The Stoic perspective on career and finance encourages us to detach from the external outcomes and focus on cultivating virtue in all aspects of our work. By striving to do our best, without being overly concerned with results, we can find peace and contentment in the process, knowing that our value lies in our effort, not in the end result. Final conclusion: applying wisdom in life. At the end of our journey through these three philosophical streams, we arrive at a profound understanding of life. Each philosophy, in its own way, offers valuable lessons on how we can better understand ourselves and the world around us. Taoism teaches us to live in harmony with nature, flowing with life's inevitable currents like a river that moves without force. It reminds us that true peace is found not by trying to control everything, but by accepting reality and moving with it calmly. Sufism, with its unconditional love and spiritual pursuit, shows us that true living is about loving without expecting anything in return. It teaches us to cleanse our hearts from hatred and ego, opening space for pure compassion. Stoicism, with its timeless virtue, emphasizes the importance of self-control. When life presents challenges and hardships, Stoicism teaches us to remain calm, wise, and unaffected by worldly desires. It reminds us that true happiness does not depend on what we have or achieve, but on how we respond to it with virtue. By applying the wisdom of Taoism, Sufism, and Stoicism in our lives, we not only gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world, but also bring peace and calm to our hearts. With the harmony of Taoism, the love of Sufism, and the virtue of Stoicism, we can live a more meaningful life, one filled with love, peace, and purpose, regardless of what happens.